use customer insights with Dynamics 365 sales, field service, or any of those other areas, you could potentially do that. So kind of the story, I think 2 weeks from now, too, guys, aren't we looking at then, is it Business Central then, Marcus, that you're going to be doing as we go through this too? Is
Yeah,
that
I think
correct?
that's in 2 weeks. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, cool. Well, I know we've got a limited amount of time, so let's jump in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to flip over to our presentation mode. And so let's see if this works.
Adam, can you just clarify product names for me? I know Microsoft keeps changing these. Um, what names are we going with right now?
Well, yeah. So and even in the partner channel, people still are pulling away or trying to pull away fully from classifying it as customer engagement. A couple of years ago, or a few years ago, Microsoft branded the core tenets of what we traditionally would call a CRM system or a CRM platform as D365 customer engagement. That really covered sales, marketing, and customer service. Well, with the advent of really robust apps like project service automation or field service or what was talent, now HR, we started getting these capability driven apps. And so instead of lumping things into or having even a middle layer of something called customer engagement that had 3 apps in it, everything was abstracted into its own app. So everything is app based. For Microsoft, everything is an app. So we've got D365, Dynamics 365 sales, Dynamics 365 on the ERP side. We've got finance, supply chain management. We have Dynamics 365 field service and project service automation. We've already talked about customer service, Business Central. So everything is referenced as its own standalone application that is built on CDS.
And I think
Okay.
that's a really good point. And one thing I just want to clarify with that too is that it's really common for us to break out the products, right? To have a delineation between sales and finance, or even now finance and supply chain management for the Dynamics 365 app story. The point that we're starting to see more and more often though is that generally speaking, when we talk to a customer or when we're talking with a prospect, we're not generally saying, hey, we're in sales or we're in finance or supply chain management. And the reason for that is because a lot of these processes are going across all these different applications. So it's very common now that, for example, even though Adam is a CE architect, he's pushing information for a sales quote, for example, that's going to exist inside of Dynamics 365 Finance. So when we're talking about our story, it's more now of a persona that we really focus on with that, meaning that this person has these job responsibilities, and that means that their entry point for that is going to be in Dynamics 365, and this is their persona role user interface that they interact with. Obviously, for licensing, we're very cognizant of the fact that we do not want to have additional licensing, but the nice thing that Microsoft did do recently is that base and then that attached licensing, right, guys, where you can have the base at $180 and then you can add a CRM user for $30 or whatever it is, and that really shows that in the future it's more about being on Dynamics 365, which is that main price point, and then those little apps are then used basically for each of those individual users based off of their persona or their business case. Would you guys agree?
Yep.
Agreed. Yep. I mean, everything has been modularized, and yes, there are some higher costs in some areas, but especially when you're looking at this message that Microsoft is really behind, and even Stoneridge Software, we cover the gamut with these apps. So this better together mentality. Scott, you mentioned the being able to take quote data or quote information and shoot that from what is a lighter weight quoting engine to something like Business Central or something like finance, and this idea of having multiple apps, when you tack them together, they being modularized, it's going to really save cost. So yes, there might be some sticker shock here or there, but if you need to cross any boundaries from sales to finance, from customer service to field service, customer service sales, especially when they're bundled and especially when they're together, we're seeing a ton of value add and an actual cost reduction with a lot of these license packages.
Absolutely. And very competitive too. I mean, it is a cost. Anytime you look at a cloud service, it's going to be generally a little bit more expensive than what you're used to over the lifetime of it. You know, you've got to think of all these other things, but cost wise, it is very competitive then to others, and it basically exceeds in a lot of ways because of all the technologies that we have. So I don't want to take up your time, Adam. Why don't you go ahead? I'm going to go here real quick, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over into just full screen so that everyone can see without having our speakers on here. So there we go. Go ahead and take it away, Adam.
Cool. Is everything visible here? We see a dashboard, some dashboard action in here.
Yeah, and Marcus, can you watch chat just in case people are commenting? Because I will not be able to do that today, guys. Maybe go through Marcus. Go through Marcus.
Leah wants the radio back on.
The radio, the song.
Radio?
Your audio. the music bed.
Yeah.
All right.
So, like I said earlier, we're going to take a kind of a stroll through the core app areas of sales, customer service, marketing, and field service. Now, I don't think I'm going to really dig in super deep on the sales and customer service side, just because for those that might be watching, really these capabilities and the core pieces of, like lead to opportunity management, going into the product catalog, quoting on the customer service side, case management, SLAs, routing, that's all. It's very impactful for organizations. It's very important, but they've been around, like just the skeleton, the core of these applications. They've been around for some time. Whereas Dynamics 365 Marketing as its own standalone application, as well as Dynamics 365 Field Service, they're newer, or at least with respect to like field service, we've got heightened capabilities and a lot of customization, a lot going on there, and so that those areas might not have been exposed to a lot of users that might just be in sales or might just be in customer service. So to set expectations again, I think a lot of the capability-driven demonstration is going to be living in marketing and field service. We still will, highlight the core pieces of sales and customer service, but just so everybody's in the know here as we walk through. So to kick things off, right now I am in the Sales Hub. So I'm in D365 Sales. Those that aren't familiar with the navigation, I'm not going to go bit by bit or component by component or tool by tool, but at the very top here we've got our main navigation bar. So the nice thing is that it provides you context, starting with the highest level and moving down as you look at the top left. So right here we're in our Sales Hub. We've got our multiple apps. We're going to shoot over to customer service in a few minutes, but we've got customer service and field service, project service. We're living in sales, so we are in the sales application, and it tells us that in the main navigation bar. And as you drill down into records, you keep getting to that lower level, it will tell you, it will provide that context in case you get turned around. On the left-hand side here, this is what's, I guess, historically considered the left nav, but this is your sitemap. Cool thing is that we've got recently viewed items, so as you're navigating through the application, you will have that cached. It's really nice to be able to just ping back to, shoot back to records you've seen or been working with, and if you're working with some of these records, maybe key accounts or key pursuits, opportunities in your sales pipeline, you can pin those as well. I don't have anything pinned right now, but if I did access one of these records and, I'm going to be navigating to this record on a pretty regular basis, we can pin those. So it's easy access. We don't have to go through any other, access any other inroads or try to go search and access. We can pin those right to our main sitemap. Now, further down, we've got main groupings of what are called entities. These are your business objects. These are the things that you manage. These are the critical key things that are going to play into your sales processes or your customer service processes. We're pretty familiar with things like accounts and contacts, the organizations and the people. Down below, we have more of that, I guess you could say, transactional or process-based, those entities. So we've got leads. Think of those as the flash in the pan. Hey, I get a business card. Hey, I get a list of registrants from a trade show. haven't really qualified anything. We haven't spoken. This is a big pool of data that we have to do work on. And then that next level is opportunities. Yes, we have engaged. We have developed a rapport or a relationship. We are really in the throes of locking down business. Further down, we can do competitor tracking. Pretty light, some names and some capabilities, maybe products, but we can track our competitors within the system. And then you'll see collateral and marketing. Now, collateral, this is where we get into the quoting and ordering. So when we're identifying products or services that an organization is interested in, we can generate quotes. We can revise those quotes and really key in on that final rundown of products and services offered, and then spit out orders and even get so far as invoices. We're not going to take a look at the nitty gritty of the product catalog today. We're going to focus on the front end, more the lead and opportunity. But we've also got sales lit, and further down, some goals and forecast. Forecast we will pop into at the very end of the sales demonstration, but that's a newer feature that does have some intelligence behind it, and a lot of it's highly customizable with respect to how you set these forecasts up. Now, I skipped over marketing because at the heart of the marketing app, which we will take a look at in a little while here, it's a shift away from the lighter marketing capabilities that have always come pre-baked with Dynamics CRM or Dynamics 365 sales. The heart of that lighter weight marketing capability, if you will, is the marketing list. So a list of people, they can be dynamic, they can be static, it can be a smart list that's the system sort of curates for us, or we can tell it and define discreetly which contacts or leads are a part of that. But the marketing list and quick campaigns and campaigns within sales, they're still there, and we can still market it's not very robust with its capabilities, but we do have some of that lighter weight marketing capability in sales. So what you see here, and that's just a kind of a breakdown of the ins and outs at a very high level in the sales app. The nice thing is that we can, because real estate, especially since I think we're all on laptops right now, I'm on a 13.5 or 15-inch machine, we can collapse this sitemap. So as you hover over and move down this sitemap, you still have that breakdown of what you might be clicking into in navigation, but we can save a little screen space if we're doing some critical work in on a dashboard or on a list or what have you. So what we see here is you can see it's a sales activity social dashboard, but really we've got multiple dashboards in the system. We can customize these. We can pull in Power BI elements. We can side by side critical data visualizations or lists. These views. You'll hear me say view a lot. That's a list of records, maybe a filtered list of records. Stack that up with some relationship assistant cards. There is some intelligence now that we have in D365 sales that feeds us more proactively, say task follow-ups or things you missed. So we have these cards that are in the system now too. As I scroll down here, we've got some other data visuals, just simple breakdowns of different segments or different, we've got top opportunities by products or top customers by estimated revenue of the opportunities in the system. And then further down, we've got a list. So this really just shows that, hey, we can orchestrate with a number of different elements and different element types on a dashboard, the things that, as Scott mentioned earlier, these personas, right, as a salesperson, inbound or outbound sales, or maybe sales support, the things that I need to have at my fingertips to jump into my particular work streams and get the day started right. So, this is that critical space. And as a best practice in projects, I've always really pushed the dashboard agenda, if you will. It's a great way to show you exactly what you need to see to start your work and start your work effectively and efficiently.
And it's improved too, right? I mean, it's not like, back in the day with KPIs and dashboards, you'd have to program to make it really work effectively. But in our environments now, it's more configuration that you really use to drive that.
right? And the nice thing is that you don't have to be this theme from Microsoft to bring it at a very high level. So we're kind of breaking out of the app by app breakdown, but the democratization of app building, or the democratization of personalization. With dashboards and with views, we can create. If I go to new here and start building a D365 dashboard, or even pull in a Power BI dashboard that we published out to Power BI Cloud, we can start doing that as end users if we have those privileges. So we don't have to lean on an IT team. We don't have to, think that 2-3 weeks maybe I'll get what I was asking for. We as users can start going in and working with some of the out of the box data visualization and filtering and querying capabilities, and get that stuff fed to us and available pretty immediately.
Yeah, and that's huge for a sales role, right? I mean, if you had a Power BI dashboard that had a connection to, let's say you did your invoicing in a separate application that wasn't on Dynamics 365, but was a SQL database, and as a salesperson, you need to know a dollar amount that was invoiced for your customers, you could have a Power BI dashboard that references that data that then shows inside of Dynamics 365. So you're not going to multiple areas to get that information, or you have to create an integration of data to come back into the Dynamics 365. You can just have a Power BI dashboard that references that. So it's pretty cool. It changes the way that we think as architects as well, and how we're delivering recommendations for solutions for our customers.
100%, and that's not even really talking about or considering the embeddability or embedding of things like Canvas apps and tailored experiences that are pixel by pixel. So these pixel perfect customized Canvas apps that can be injected into the out of the box, the off the shelf sales, customer service, field service apps. It's pretty insane the user experiences you can start to formulate, and those things you can get off the ground in pretty rapid fire sense. It's instead of 6 months to roll out a pretty robust dashboard solution for multiple roles or multiple cross BU or cross team. These things can be really tamped down to if not hours, days, or weeks to get a full product. So it's pretty awesome.
So I did a Power App into CRM. So I'm not a CRM CE expert by any means, but I was able to create a Power App hooking Business Central data, tying it and filtering it in customer engagement, and it was really in about 2 hours I had it finished.
Yep. Pretty awesome stuff. Now, that's we could confab on that stuff a different day all day. But with even with the out of the box stuff, to bring that back into focus here, this is all built off of historically like the mobile app. So HTML5, there's snappiness here. We can go into these elements, hover over, we get more information, drill down into each of these segments, break it out by customer, or if we go to the opportunities, drill down by, we'll go to account and throw in a bar. So we can take these elements and go to deeper and deeper levels to slice and dice. Now, this isn't going to be something that's tantamount to like Power BI capability, but even with what's served up here, it is interactive, and you can do more with the elements that are served up, even in a pre-baked sense. So moving to, because I've already belabored, shocker. I've already geeked out on stuff that's like, come on, Adam.
It's so simple, right? But it's so powerful.
It is, and we could do like a 4-hour confab. I'm not suggesting that, but we can just keep going with it. But what I'll do is actually go back to, I'm not really going to focus on accounts and contacts. I think for the sake of today, we all understand that an account is a customer. That's a business or an organization or an LLC or something like that. A contact is a person. So I think we've got that on lock, but I will move to the core sales. So when we're talking about leads and opportunities, and you see that I have just a bunch of sample data that's living in here, again, the lead is that flash in the pan interaction. That lead is, we don't know if this is really going to turn into anything. And the beautiful thing about D365 sales is that you have leads at your disposal to keep your data quality, really, really just controlled. You don't want a bunch of noise. You don't want a bunch of, to be frank, garbage in your your opportunity pipeline. You don't want a bunch of garbage in your accounts and contacts to sift through and find those records or that data that actually is meaningful and can drive decision making. You want to have a pool of data to draw from and build those tables or build that data in a controlled and a qualified sense, hence the lead qualification process. So if I crack into one of these, I'm just going to go into Maria Campbell here. This could be a list of leads from trade shows, and even in the header here, you can see, just to break down the anatomy, at the very top we've got the lead title, and on the right hand side we've got this header. So we have our lead source. This says advertisement, but if we had we peeled this from trade show attendance. This is where we can actually start to understand and analyze different lead sources and gauge effectiveness when we're trying to determine, hey, where do we throw our marketing money, or we have this kind of budget, what's going to be most effective in pulling the most business from for us at the highest level. So that top funnel stuff can really, even something as simple as understanding lead source can be pretty impactful downstream. Further down, we've got the main form. So contact information, some additional segmentation, job title, company information. So the actual organization at which they're employed, and then at the very top here, not very top, but you'll see spanning across the top of the form here, we have what's called a business process flow. I can't stress enough how awesome these are.
Mm-hmm.
They not only control or lend to proper data entry. This is a visual breakdown of your business's process. Right here, this is off the shelf. This is served up from Microsoft. So you can see when we click into this main qualify stage, we start in the qualification stage. We've got a number of fields that we have to fill out. Some of them might be required, some of them might be recommended, but we can kick this downstream once we've accomplished this. Not only is this a visual, so everybody understands where you are in the process. There's no confusion there. It's fantastic with respect to structuring the pipeline, managing potentially weighted pipelines with estimated revenue once we get to the opportunity stages. But it really drives user adoption. Just having this structure in place and having that data quality, really keying in on the attributes and the data that we need to be entering to manage this lead and downstream the opportunity effectively is huge. And it is, these can all be customized. We can, based on some of the inputs and some of these stages, introduce or remove downstream stages. We can have branching processes. So it can get pretty complex, and it really is a distillation and a mirror of your business's internal process in a visual sense, baked into the system. I love them. I think they're great. And the nice thing with the newer ones is that you can anchor them right to the right of the screen. So we don't have to keep clicking into that. We can move through this process and maybe even shrink the sitemap a little bit so we can be effective as we're entering that data. So this simplified experience, this user experience focus is huge. And the things we've seen kicked out from Microsoft on that front, even in the traditional sales and marketing and customer service senses, has been pretty awesome.
So those fields, Adam, just to understand that too, those are fields that are actually on that lead, for example, right? So an example would be the estimated budget and the purchase process. If you fill it out there, it's going to update whatever is on that particular record as well. Is that a correct statement?
Correct. Yeah. So what's exposed here and what's surfaced here, these are actual fields living at the lead level. So the really nice thing is that going back to that usability theme, we don't have to clutter up the form down below. We don't have to have this more archaic looking, just a couple of skyscrapers of fields or attributes on the form. We can control that from a process perspective and keep that self-contained within the process flow versus creating a bunch of noise on, or just weird formatting on the forms below.
That's right, Leah. Easy breezy. I love that pin capability because as you're going through it, I mean, you can see what data you just have to update to move this on to the next stage. It's just, I'm surprised they didn't have that initially.
Yeah, well, yeah, me too.
Yeah,
it's
like once you see it.
That, like, if anybody's gone to the Microsoft, I think what is a Microsoft Connect, or the community pages where you can request product updates or enhancements, there's actually a nugget in the Wave 1 updates that we'll get to later on that the community has been asking for probably, as Chris Traeger would say, Parks and Rec, literally a decade. And we finally see it in 2020, and it's great that it's here. As a preview, it has to do with case closures, but some of these just simple usability wins, with this unified interface, the new UI that we're working with, it's much easier for Microsoft to introduce this and to add additional layers or additional usability, boosts here and there. So it's fun to see this stuff roll through in the major or minor updates.
Cool.
Lead qualification, I'm just going to click qualify. We have the command bar up top. So we filled in our information. We've gone through. We do have additional details, and we do have a SharePoint integration or Teams integration for files. We've got our related data here. So we don't, I'm not going to really jump into that. If you've been around the block before, you understand these pieces of functionality. I will qualify this. So we kick over to the opportunity side. So we've engaged Maria. She's interested. We're moving forward with the sales process. Now, we do have duplicate detection, which is really nice. We don't have these duplicates in the system, so I will go ahead and continue. But what's great is that, this is, again, that data quality control where, hey, if the records already exist in the system, make sure you're tacking those onto this leader. Make sure we're referencing those so we don't have that duplicate data living in our accounts or our contacts. So now that we're on the opportunity side, we have develop, propose, and close. So we've got some additional steps to move through, identifying the customer need, propose solution. Again, this is off-the-shelf stuff. Excuse me, but we do have an opportunity-specific process we move through. Down below, we have some additional information. Some of it is coming over and mapped from the lead. Some of it we will have to update and include. And then the additional tabs that we have in the form here, we've got product line items. This is where we can identify, hey, we're working with a specific price list and preferred reseller, we'll say. And this is where we can start to add products and flesh this out, to get to that quoting, to get to that ordering stage. We're not going to showcase that today, but as we move through that process, we will have related quotes, any of those versions there, and we can add orders as well. Now, for opportunity, now that we're in the develop stage, and let's just say we're going to be moving forward here. We have these steps marked complete. I'm not going to belabor putting in verbose notes here, but I'll kick it to the next stage. As we continue down this process here, there is some configuration needed on the back end, but this plays into that pipeline that we saw on the dashboard to kick things off. So as we get further and further down that line, we are going to see that funnel start to morph, and we're going to start to see the top of the funnel pieces come in, and this is where we can start to get into weighted revenue and forecasting and painting that picture of effectiveness and projecting on a quarter by quarter or fiscal year by fiscal year basis what we're going to be pulling in and what we expect, which is really powerful. You can start to make some more proactive decisions in that sense, just from moving effectively through a process like this and moving through a visual process at that. So it sounds simple, but when you start to piece this together and tell the story and paint the picture of how effective it can be for especially sales leaders or managers or people looking at that 30,000-foot view of team effectiveness, it's powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and once we're ready to close this out, hey, we've moved through, we have all of our steps marked complete. Not going to spend a ton of time on this, but we're ready to close it. So we have a couple of final steps, decision date, say we locked it in today, and then
Adam, I got a question. I got a question for you. What do you say to the people that just check mark the check marks in sales to get it to the next stage?
People don't do that, do they?
I've never seen that.
We don't do it at Stoneridge either, do we?
I don't think so. No, I will say, and this might be a punt answer, it might not, and it might not be the sugar-coated stuff people want to hear, but you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Exactly.
So no matter how powerful the technology is, there will never be a silver bullet solution, and there will always be cultural issues or considerations that have to be addressed outside of an application.
Yeah.
So we can throw in mechanisms like required fields. We can gate these. If we're in the proposed stage here, we can make sure that certain fields are required, and we can over-engineer the crap out of whatever we want. But unless you really have that change mentality and you're really driving home best practice and moving through a process the way it should be moved through, and have that instilled in your users, you might see stuff like that happen, and no technology can control that.
Holy cow, Adam,
Well,
did chat
Adam,
actually erupt a little bit after that, right? I'm looking and I see
you've been
Brent.
welcome
She's
to the
like,
team.
haha. You're doing good at demos now, Adam. You're skipping fields, which is great.
What did I miss something? What's happening right now?
No, it's chat that's going on. You're fine. I've
Oh,
got it
I
on
can't
my
see the
phone.
chat.
I
I'm
know.
blind
So
to the chat.
You're officially part of the sales team at
We're-
Stoneridge because you just check boxes and move on.
Got it. All right, I've made it. It looks like we made it. All right. Okay, so really that was a long way to say, hey, business process flows are awesome. They can be complex, they can be straightforward, but they're very powerful, and they play into a broader picture, a broader solution of understanding where things are in a pipeline.
Yep.
So I will go back and just hit on four. I do want to close out. We have just a limited amount of time, and I've already spent way too much time on sales. But forecasts are, I don't have any set up right now, but I do want people to go check out, and maybe we can throw into a webinar on new sales features. But the forecasts are awesome, intelligence driven, and they can be structured in various ways. We have new options for structuring those with the new. My session's about to expire. Hey, it's not a demo unless this happens, right?
Yeah,
Right.
it's always something. There's always something.
Yeah, I've been having problems with my my demo instances this week as well.
Yeah. Hey, remember when we talked about vamping earlier, Marcus?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And of course, I've got TFA going right now, and Do Not Disturb is on right now. So
You have to find your phone. Oh.
it's all coming together. This is what we have to live with and what we have to do.
So, Marcus, do you have any jokes to say during this intermission portion?
No, I try to stay very serious as we walk through these.
Just look at the camera and be like, now imagine when you're on site with somebody going through this. It's always so much more fun, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
it just,
Well, these always happen while you're doing
yeah, yeah. And
Oh, man.
the power went off. Hey guys, I guess
Oh,
in my
God.
room. There we go. Hello.
Everything's falling apart.
Exactly. Holly
Someone
was
pulled the
talking to
plug
me
somewhere.
about losing power and they still had internet. And I'm like, really? And she's like, no, I'm just pulling your leg. And I just thought right there, I'm like, hey, it worked.
Well, I think the last time I did this, I must have sat still too long and the auto shut off and the light switch went. I sat in the dark.
Sounds
There
like
we go.
I sounds like the Mr. Durfee's on. Good to see you.
Durfee.
Yeah, Durfee.
Durfee. Good to have you.
Yeah, good to have you on.
All right, so we're back in action. That was a big long vamp to get us to where we need to be, but I'll reload here in the background. Of course, I'm signed out. This is wonderful. Okay, so sales. We're gonna really just really briefly touch on the customer service. So I'm gonna hop over to. You see that I flipped apps here. So in our app selector, I went from the sales hub and flipped over to the customer service hub. Now the dashboarding and some of the things you're going to see right off the bat are a little different. So we've got active cases, resolved cases. This is a tier 1 breakdown. Tier 2, think of escalated cases or maybe specific products that are more involved. So we've got some information that's surfaced to us, and we've got some really cool out of the box widgets that are a little bit different looking than in sales. So what's nice is we've got new chart and new data visualization types we can use for these dashboards. But if I crack into a case, which is really the heart of all customer service here, you can see some views here, my active cases. We've got a couple that are in the system already, these system views. But going into one of these cases with respect to customer service, it'll be a little different. We have things serialized. We have a little bit more going on in the form, some general information about the case further down the form. We've got case details. We've got case relationships in case there are child cases or merged cases. Anything as we branch out, if it becomes more complex with respect to product support or customer service in general, those will show up here. And then we've got our SLA information. So if your organization works off of particular SLAs, like just your standard, maybe like bronze, silver, gold breakdowns or premier support, you've got different service level agreements in place. We have those SLA KPI instances to be able to measure effectiveness and if we're meeting or failing SLAs moving through those customer service processes. So that's the general anatomy of the case. The one thing, and you can see the business process flow up top, just like we did on the opportunities, the one thing I wanted to call out that is a departure, an added feature for customer service. On the right-hand side here, you see this special bar. Now we've got recent cases and entitlements. We've got knowledge-based search, and we've got similar cases. So the similar cases feature is really cool because it uses Microsoft's full text API to go search through related cases or collateral to pull back and surface and expose things that might actually have similar resolutions. So there is some intelligence behind this as well, and that really does get that time to resolve down, that that time to close down for service organizations or service teams. The KB search is really awesome too. You go into that and you can go search your, if it's a simple KB, if it's a complex KB, you've got, we've got some awesome capabilities here, and it's very powerful. Just the ability to search for KB articles, send them from an email right here, send a link to this record for any internal resources. We have ratings if this stuff is exposed, say, on a customer portal. There's a self-service portal. We can set up ratings and effectiveness ratings for that content on the portal. So more features on the customer service side is on the case here, but I did want to highlight a couple things before moving on to marketing and field service. So anything that any critical pieces that you guys think that I should drill into here before moving on?
No, I think this has been a great overview. I don't know, Marcus, if you have anything.
Well, I just had one question on the dashboard. So we can integrate what we saw last time with customer insights into one of these pages, correct? Onto the dashboards?
We can. Yep. Yep. So and what Marcus is talking about is the customer insights platform that Scott walked us through on the last confab, being able to pull this customer information and orchestrate it on that side and spit back in intelligent KPIs, or maybe the proactive breakdown of what needs to be taken care of or seen or followed up on. So
again, one source of truth, one set of information, shared apps across the platform.
One set of
Yep.
data too, right? Long term here too. Duplication issues. So, Chad had mentioned it earlier. I mean, it makes the enterprise so much easier to interact with. So much easier.
Yep. So I'm trying to get some things squared away here off to the side, namely to make the move over to take a look at marketing and field service. It's looking more and more likely that we're going to have to truncate our wave one breakdown. Some of the things we can expect in that wave one update in the spring to something a little bit more lightweight. But right now, I am trying to pull up.
I think we did a blog post, didn't we, at Stoneridge?
We did.
I think you published one, right, Adam?
Yep, on Monday, in fact. So they released it at about maybe 8, 9 a.m., and we got that out that afternoon. So we can supply those links too. I'm just trying to find the questions. Buffer time. I got to pull some stuff up in the back here. So anything that we've seen so far that is piquing interest, or any questions that I can answer on the fly.
Well, Leah posted a link to the blog. So if anybody's looking for the blog, it's there in the comments.
Yeah, Marcus, a quick question for you. So, I mean, I know a lot of the processes that we're getting involved with, typically they're starting with sales, right? So a lot of these opportunities that I'm involved in, it feels when we go through like a quotation life cycle or lead management or anything else like that, we're generally showing a lot of these types of capabilities to our prospects and even our existing customers. Because in the old days, your ERP system used to do CRM as well, but it's departing from that pretty substantially, where Microsoft is not investing on their what we'll call legacy ERP type designs for contacts, customers, opportunities. They're moving that more into Dynamics 365 CE. Are you seeing more of these pairings as well on the Business Central side, where people are like, I'm done using Business Central capabilities and I'd prefer to use the CE capabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is about the more sophisticated features that you find in CE versus relationship management in within Business Central. And again, that product can work for some people. If people are looking for some basic functionality, it can work fine. But I think more and more people are looking for the features that you see in CE. Dashboards and the reporting and the lead tracking, and to be able to do much more with marketing. That's what people are looking to do.
The whole
Yep.
user experience, right, is substantially
Yeah.
different as well. Yeah, Mr. Wagner, you're absolutely right. I mean, so there's another perspective here. We've talked about CDS so many times. I think everyone in my organization is like, don't talk to Scott about CDS because that's all he's going to say. But what the interesting thing about it is like when we start looking at across different, so a business has many different divisions, right? And sometimes it doesn't make sense to implement a very heavy system in a very small division. It'd be like putting SAP in a 5-user company. If you're doing an SAP HANA implementation, it would just, I don't know why you would ever do that. So in our environment now, that cross enterprise data sharing, meaning you can have a customer now coming in the next wave because Business Central is going to integrate with CDS.
Yep.
But you could have a customer in Business Central that synchronizes to the common data service that is also consumed in finance and supply chain management or CE. So it's just a game changer when we really start talking about those capabilities.
Well, and I
Definitely.
think what you just mentioned, Scott, is really a paradigm shift, I think, for most people to think about using all three of those applications isn't really a conversation we've had before.
Yeah, you choose one, right? Your ERP,
Correct.
you have to use finance and supply chain management, and then the small ones, you've got to figure out how to template it enough to implement it, and that may be too heavy. Why wouldn't you
Yep.
just think about using a tool that's designed for that division, basically? So,
Right. Right. Yeah. But it is the same platform.
Yep.
yep,
So can you guys see the mobile presentation here?
Yes.
yep, I see work.
All right. So yeah, so I'm actually I'm on, you can see mirrored here. So I'm casting up my personal device, but I we didn't really talk about it, but we mentioned the unified interface. So I do want to bring up D365, the actual device app. You know, it's considered the unified interface because it's got a unifying experience. Everything's built on that snappy HTML5 interface, and it's responsive. So we're going to see things render a little differently, but it should be a very similar experience to working with a tablet, working with your desktop or your machine. So right here on my home screen, I see my open leads. I can go through and click into, I'm going to go into Deborah Garcia here, sample data again, but you can see that things shore up a little bit differently, but very similarly to what we just saw on the desktop. So we've got our business process flow up top. I can tap into the qualify stage, and then these are the fields that we discussed that I just flew through, and I'm definitely in sales now because I just checked a bunch of boxes. But you know, instead of being, you know, having a little bit more horizontal real estate, things are going to be vertically oriented. You can crack into the header, you know, fill out the header information. But it's really, I mean, I love the mobile app. If anybody came from the world of the old, with the Mobile Express or the Mocha, or any of the old mobile capabilities that we used to have, I'll just be real blunt about that one. They're terrible. They're
Yeah.
Yep.
awful. There are so many, like so much progress has been made in the mobile, you know, the mobile experience, whether you're in the field, you're, you know, hopefully not in the car, per Minnesota state law, but, you know,
If you're
when
not
you're actually,
driving,
if you're not driving,
no, there you go.
or at stoplights, you know, it
No.
really is awesome, you know. And if we go to, say we go to the, you know, some of the dashboards, you know, it shows up the same way that you would have on desktop, and it's snappy. You know, this is fast. This isn't waiting around for seconds or even minutes to bring up data. You know, we can drill into, we have the same capabilities that we do. I just drilled into the bottom piece of the funnel there, and now we can start playing around with date ranges. Oh, I'm getting notifications. We can start playing. I'm on do not disturb. What is going on? You know, we can go into the views. We can start playing with the system views or personal views. Go back. It's pretty intuitive navigation, and it's very quick. Like,
Hey,
this is very fast
really
stuff.
curious on this really quickly. So with Business Central, they did a very similar concept where they made it so that if you design a form or if you create a new form inside of Business Central, that you can enable it through mobile as well. Is that the same here then too with the unified interface? That if you want to add fields, for example, to the contact, that you know every organization is going to need to add fields in some place in their data structure. Are you able to do that then, and does that convey then to the mobile interface?
Yeah, well, you can customize mobile specific forms and use those for a tailored experience. If
Okay.
say you want to reduce some noise in the form, or really you just want a couple of taps on a couple of fields to get that data entry real quick, but it's going to render the same form.
It does. Okay. So
It
if you
does, yeah.
change that base form, it'll be in the mobile app then too.
Yep. So I'm in the sitemap right now. If I go to just our list of contacts, so this is going to be whatever view I had pinned for our main list of contacts. If I click into Maria, who we worked with earlier, click into her record, you can see at the very top, we even have the form selector. So if I click contact here, we've got all of our available forms and it will render whatever's there. Now, in some projects, I absolutely have created a mobile,
Oh
kind of a
yeah,
mobile
more mobile
centric form.
focused. Yep.
Yeah. But if you want to have a shared form between different devices, that's what we have right now. You can even see Contact Mobile is in here. So kind of a pared down version, right? You're only focusing on like one section, some simple data entry, some simple fields, and away you go.
And the reason I
Yep.
bring that up, Adam, is just, like on the agricultural side of our business right now, we've got agronomists that are actually out in the field that need to potentially work with a grower or a farmer to go through like a proposal. And that proposal, what we've talked about in the past is that the agronomist can come out with his wonderful tablet, have that data real time there because they have cell phone reception basically, go through that proposal and then turn that into an agreement that drives then delivery of that particular product, all
Mm-hmm.
while on site basically if they wanted to, because of that mobile experience and that technology. We made sure we had all the fields for the plans and the proposals. The leverage team did that. They did a phenomenal job with it. But then now we can use that mobily as part of our solution instead of having
Mm-hmm.
pieces of paper. I think that's just a huge thing. It just changes the way people think about how they interact then with the device.
Yep, and the time to get it out there is so minimal, because it's rendering the same configuration that you have. The time to actually empower field sales or field service with, I mean, just the really field sales. There's a specific field service mobile app, but to get it off the ground and have people start using it, it doesn't take dedicated configuration or customization. It doesn't take sprints to be able to get some minimal viable product out the door. It really is just, it's baked in, it's good to go, plug and play for the most part, and it's pretty cool to see people adopt that right away. Where we used to have to plan mobile
Oh
deployments
yes,
after initial
painful.
deployments and kind of build that into project plans.
Yep.
Yep. So we're going to probably bleed over the top of the hour, but I do want to focus on. I want to jump into. I have a marketing specific org that I have another tab open for here, but just to break down. You know, we mentioned the marketing lists and campaigns and quick campaigns that are native to, that are available in even sales. So that lighter weight marketing, list building, maybe building some automation around those lists to distribute messaging, things like that. But Microsoft has been pouring resources. And when I say resources, not just, a lot of investment in money toward developing their own marketing suite. They actually have dedicated teams. I just listened to a podcast, I think, with Mark Smith and one of the guys from the Teams development or R&D team, or no, yeah, a guy who had come from Teams or worked collaboratively with Teams, who is now doing the Power Virtual Agents development.
Okay.
And he mentioned that in the same office there were, I think, 100 dedicated developers for D365 marketing, which is insane. Like they're going full bore on, and then there are more globally, but they're going full bore on being able to offer up a robust marketing suite where historically we haven't really had that. We haven't really had those capabilities. So a very high level summary for marketing. I do want to just show, we've got dashboards. That's going to be a common inclusion between the different applications. Some activities here down below. We have shared entities or these shared business objects, accounts, contacts, etc. Now you'll see things like segments, subscription lists. We've got marketing execution. We've got customer journeys and social posts and actual event management. There's a whole, if I go down to the bottom left here, there's a whole events area within this app to manage event registration, and this can even plug in with D365 or Power Apps portals for self-service registration, for learning tracks, like beginning, intermediary, advanced management. That's all self-service based and externally facing, which is really powerful. So, even from what you see in this sitemap, you can see that there's a heck of a lot more going on here than just marketing lists and campaigns and quick campaigns. There's even a file management. So the marketing content, we can go to our files and start to include images or videos or content blocks. We have personalized landing pages, so we can get pretty advanced with how we're developing these campaigns. A lot of templating, which is good. Why it works smarter, not harder. Why,
Yep.
create all this stuff from scratch when we can have a repeated process in maybe email templates or customer journeys. And that's what I want to focus on, is the customer journey. It's kind of, to me, a fluffy term. It's got that very happy, you're a part of the customer journey, but it's apt. If anybody's familiar with, say, like click dimensions, that's really where, in terms of marketing automation, where my expertise started. This is tantamount to like the campaign automation.
Mm-hmm.
So this has the same visual structure. If I crack into one of these customer journeys, it's got the same essential structure of something like the campaign automation and click dimension. So, you start with a group or a target audience, and you go on to different actions, different triggers. You've got branching.
Like a
So this is.
logic app.
Yeah, and this should look pretty familiar. This
Yep.
is how we build. This is how we started building business process flows. The same designer. This is how we build business rules. The same designer. This is how we'll build, or how we can now structure with the toolbox and the properties off to the right hand side here. How we're going to be building, how we build site maps or apps or Power Apps portals. So we have a unified experience with structuring these different things. But this is really powerful because we can start to make these pretty complex right here. For this sample customer journey, it's something as simple as, hey, we've got our premium customers. We want to send an intro to our new product. And then, hey, did they open that email or not? That will then dictate which branch they land in. So that we'll have different marketing content, or we'll have different engagement touch point types depending on different activities. So that's why the label customer journey is there, because it's not just a one and done email send and see what happens with sort of this, in the dark marketing. Hopefully it happens and hopefully they reach out, but we have no idea what they're doing along this, this structured, this mapped out campaign, where with D365 marketing, we actually can glean those insights and consume those insights and structure these unique paths for these prospects or for these existing customers, and see how they're moving through it. And then you have further down, this is the designer, but if I go to insights, this is where the system will actually feed us those insights. And it's now, we can use this and use this data and use the trends to make more informed decisions the next time we go into a product 2 campaign or a relaunch or a new geo, something like that. So it is really powerful, and it's snappy, and it's a lot of fun to use, and I encourage everybody to go take a look at it.
Hey, Adam, a quick technical question there.
Yeah.
That branch there that goes, the email click, there was just a question from somebody. Does that require a read receipt?
They shouldn't. In a lot of marketing solutions, what they end up doing is embedding
Image.
like an
image.
image or like a
Yep.
1x1 pixel, like an anchored bit of media that's really not, you can't see it, you can't feel it, but that will actually glean whether or not somebody interacted with that object, and then push that back.
So in Outlook, that's Outlook, right? Where if you do the download pictures, because by default it's not downloading. If you enable that, right, it'll basically phones home and just says, hey, they looked at it, type of a thing, because they opened it.
Yep. And so this is people. Yeah, it might be a little big brothery, but you want to understand if people are interacting with any outbound messaging. So this is not a read receipt based solution. This is either embedded media, like Scott said, download pictures, or even something that's anchored on like just a single pixel within that message.
Yep.
Got it.
And this is common. Like I don't want to scare people. Like everyone does this, right? I mean, if you look at any marketing email that you get, they're going to have this embedded inside of it.
Yep. So that's the customer journey, super high level. Please ask or engage with us if you want to see more. This is the newer app on the block, so to speak, but it's a heck of a lot of fun. The certification exam wasn't, but it was. This is really cool, and the strides they've made, even in the past, say 6 months, are pretty. They're pretty formidable. I do want to show you the social posts capabilities. This is newer too. So if I go into social posts, we can see that there was one made today, and we'll make another one. But the really cool thing here is that we can schedule social media posting. You're probably not going to be afforded the same robustness as like a Hootsuite or even like HubSpot or a couple of the others, but we're getting there, and it's really cool that this is starting to be included. So we do have more of that one-stop shop mentality, or the one-stop shop toolbox, to be able to hit not just customer journeys, traditional marketing, email marketing, landing pages, web form consumption, but we have the social now in the fold. So if I go in and I say, yep, I'm hovering over the 30th here, and I want to schedule a new item, we can go click in and, all right, sure. All right. We'll test this out. We'll select a channel. I'll go Twitter. We're posting from, and I already included my own, like my kind of professional Twitter. You can see that's why I have the tab open up here, but happy Confab, y'all. And then Dynamics 365 marketing. So you can include media. So I mentioned earlier about file storage and capabilities there. This is the marketing icon in D365. I'll select that. And you can post now. That's what I'm doing. Or you can schedule it at a future date. I'll post now.
This is a great feature.
It's
really
as simple
cool.
as that, and it's newer. Like this is something that people have been asking for, and this is something that the product team has worked hard on including. But now I'll snap over to my Twitter here, and if I go to my, you can, oh, there it is, right at the top. So there's a happy confab, y'all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Something so simple. I mean, from a marketing manager's perspective, I mean, it makes it one place where you can manage all this, right? And you can track it, and you can see it, and you can report off of it. I mean, it's not somebody looking at an Excel spreadsheet and then going and updating it, right? That makes a lot of sense.
Yep, and you get the top down. You get the day, week, month. You can even take a year at the market, or take a look at the year of marketing in the calendar capabilities here. So it's really awesome.
I can see Leah right now in the background at her desk.
Yeah.
I'm not really going to jump into the event management. That's even more robust, with portal capability, integration with webinar registration. You can plug into On24 or go to webinar, or there are, I think, 4 main service providers to be able to plug into D365 marketing here. But there's so much more that's a part of this application than there even used to be a year ago or 6 months ago. So this is really fun, and even if you plug in a trial, go to town with it. It's pretty powerful.
Great.
Awesome.
And now we're going to go over to field service. I have a separate tab open for that. And we're landing right on the schedule. So the schedule board. So the long and the short of field service, it's like remotely, we can even plug in like IoT. So if we hook into some endpoints on devices, we can pull in metrics and real-time performance metrics on machines or remote products. We have resources, and we've got resource scheduling, and we've got requirements and tasks, and really, like, the field service application in D365 is hands down the most robust that's there with respect to the architecture and capabilities and feature set. To really hit it at the highest level and then go to the bells and whistles, everything revolves around a work order. So this is a think of traditional customer service where we've got a case, we've got an incident. Work orders being something that's field based. So we've got a generator that's on a building that is downtown over here. We have to either schedule some more proactive or scheduled maintenance, or there's something that came in that we have to go take care of ASAP. I just cracked into a work order here. So we've got a lot of the same things that we have in traditional customer service. We have our main account. We identify a billing account. Who's this going to be billed to? Further down, what kind is it? What kind of work order? This is just a simple install, work hour template. So, hey, what are the work hours that our resources are on, or these particular resources are on? Further down, we do have sales tax capability, so being able to quantify some of that. And then down below, primary incident. So, what is exactly happening for this work order? The really cool thing is I'm going to go past settings and products and services and service tasks. Service tasks really is just the breakdown of, hey, for this kind of maintenance, what do we need to knock out? And then the roll up of all the time. If I go to address here, if I start typing in a street, or I go Fair Oak, and then click out of it, it will start to serve up address recognition. So it pulls that API, kind of like a Melissa data or just Melissa now. There are different services that are out there, but that's going to be critical in understanding where the service is going to be taking place. So these work orders are coming in. We're fielding these. We have to go take care of equipment maintenance or routine checkups or anything that our technicians need to be on top of, and that's where we go to the schedule board. And I'm just going to give a really high level breakdown of this. But we saw those couple of work orders that are in the system. So we fielded a couple. So there should be 2 here that are unscheduled. And when this loads up, you'll see a couple of things. At the very top, we're going to have our resources. So these are all the technicians or the individuals that have the expertise that we can schedule to go take care of generators, to go take care of products or provide services in the field. And then down below, we've got our breakdown of work orders, and we have some simple information that's exposed. From date to date. Just the high level, kind of the 30,000 foot view. I'll zoom out a little bit, but what's really nice and what I wanted to demonstrate here is if on the very far left we've got the map view. If I crack that open, this is where we can start to piece together route optimization and where all of our resources are going to be going. So we can switch, we've got grayscale by default, but we can switch between all the Bing Maps options. This is a Bing Maps API that it's using. This is out in Seattle, again, demo data, but the really cool thing here is that the work orders I have on the bottom, I can either click on one and it's going to expose, hey, find availability, which will throw me through a wizard. So if I click into find availability, it'll take a look at all of our available resources, the times, those openings, what that work order really takes to get done, and it will guide us through that experience. Now I'll exit this because what I think is really cool and really powerful, especially if you're working with maybe like smaller fleets where you can just ad hoc kind of schedule at your own pace. This is where we can drag and drop. So if I go to the first work order and click that and drag it up to, we'll go a little further down. I don't want to schedule anything at like 4 a.m. So let's hit after lunch. If I take this work order and say, you know what, Edgar, you're going to hit this at 2 p.m. today, I can just drag and drop and plop that into Edgar's work stream or his availability there. And as I do that, this board will get fleshed out. So we see which resources are allocated to which work orders, and then on the map where they're going to be. It's loading right now, but when you plunk these into each of the resources, their schedules through the day, it will reflect, and you're going to get a real-time tabulation of where they're going to be going and what they need to be doing in the map view here. So just the responsiveness and the ease of use in drag and drop scheduling and using the scheduling engine and the wizard that's available is really great. Now, at a higher level, we can even plug in self-service portals. So submitting work, with Power Apps portals, submitting work orders. If you're an organization or a customer, being able to that's really powerful. Being able to go in and schedule your own. I'm going to quick refresh here because it's thinking it's taken too long and I'm impatient. But portal capabilities for self-service. We've got mobile capabilities. There's an enhanced mobile application for field service specifically built on what's called Woodford. It's highly extensible, highly customizable, and very snappy and intuitive and easy to use. It's built on Resco, if anybody's familiar with that, the Resco mobile app. So just some of the core features, not getting too granular with what we're going to be taking a look at in field service, but this is a lot of fun to jump into and start learning, and it's very effective. So if I wanted to schedule somebody else, we'll schedule Efrain at the same time.
And I want to mention something while you're going through that, Adam. I mean, so when we talk about it, like Business Central has service management, right? These areas now, I mean, I'm looking at field service and interacting with it, if I had somebody in Business Central that came up to me and said, I'd like to upgrade to the newest version of Business Central for service management, I'd look at them and I'd say, have you looked at field service yet? Because it is a great set of capabilities. Like, people have asked on the Business Central side for a scheduling board. I mean, you've got a list that you can dispatch off of, but a board like this where you can drag and drop and interact with it. And then when we start looking at even, finance and supply chain management, I mean, this is what we want to use to do our field service operations basically within the solution. So it's a really powerful tool.
Yep. It's awesome. And this is just scratching the surface. There's some configuration and some setup to get here, but this is really just the kind of the heart of field service. There's so much more that's afforded, even cracking open the different areas, very robust resource scheduling. We can take this and the theme is schedule anything, not just particular resources, but we've got this universal resource scheduling engine in the background that we can customize and we can use with sort of XRM or, unique custom applications. The field service specific messaging, 360-degree view of all of your assets and defined SLAs, and are you meeting them? Predictable service. That's something that I hit on a minute ago, but being able to pull in IoT measures and some of those metrics in machine productivity and performance, and if there are dips or trends or specific things that we can build into maybe Power Automate or be proactive about, the system can alert us, and we can start to schedule that preventative maintenance and really get our fleet out there. So there's so much, and this is so robust. It's unfortunate we don't have that much time today to go in, but
we do have this as a follow-up because we're doing connected IoT as one of the sessions. I don't know if we've scheduled it yet, but yeah, exactly. So I mean,
nice.
that, like, when you're going over those main points there of saying connected IoT, I mean, it is a huge change in terms of businesses nowadays. They're not just selling a product; they're selling a product and then they're maintaining that product, and they're charging for that maintenance with it. And the connected IoT is really critical to be successful with that in a lot of ways. So we'll make sure we do go into that, Adam.
For sure. Just to round it out, hey, we're already at 13 after, so why not spend a couple of minutes on, some of the, here I am in presentation mode. This is the worst thing. I'm just going to stay in PowerPoint. This is Bush League right here. You're seeing Bush League. But, some of the takeaways, from the Wave 1, right? So we've got our Wave 1 2020, our spring release. I mentioned earlier, simplified experiences. We're going to get Kanban. Is that Kanban boards?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you've ever worked in DevOps, like the ability to drag and drop work items or tasks or features or stories, we're going to get those, which is really exciting, both for opportunity pipelines and opportunity management, activity management of different types. So being able to drag and drop in these different segments and different status segments and automate some of that management and status management and pipeline management. And then we're going to get enhancements in searching and access as well. I've heard in some of the notes there are queue enhancements, so not having to navigate away from screens for queue items, and this is more the customer service type of thing. But we're going to see a lot of usability enhancements with that Wave 1. Building on insights and intelligence, we already hit on that a little bit, but more enhancements to forecasts. So not just the org chart style, the org chart structure of forecast, but we're also going to get, I think, two more. One will be product-based, and I'm forgetting the third, but we are going to see enhancements to those intelligence-driven forecasts and those kind of the heightened forecast models. And then we are going to get in the marketing app easier to configure segments. So we have these customer segments that can be manually created, they can be dynamic, they can be static, they can be intelligence-driven or created for smart segments, but we're going to get easier configuration there, and it'll be much like kind of some of the things that we took a look at with Scott's breakdown of customer insights. There's more of a unified experience there to be able to get that off the ground in a quick fashion. more UI enhancements and the introduction of pre-baked in-app Power Apps control or Power Apps component framework controls. So scheduling calendars in field service, and I think a couple of pieces in marketing are going to be PCF based, which is really exciting because that's now natively shipped instead of developed by the community or by Power Apps, some of the Power devs there. And we are going to get more of the intuitive automated tasks. So like I said, drag and drop those Kanban boards and being able to, update statuses and manage at a top-down level these different items. License enforcement, and this is the last one. It's kind of a gloomy note. I'm sorry to end on this, but
You should have done that first.
We are going to see more enforcement from Microsoft for those that are using team licenses. So where we might have been able to take a few liberties here and there, and some of the things we were including in those applications, we're going to see some walls built around that, and Microsoft is going to. I don't know how just yet. We haven't been exposed to that, but have some ideas, and just be aware that in the spring here we are going to be putting some clamps down, and they're going to be enforcing the team-based licenses with dedicated modular applications that are specific to those team licenses.
Yeah, it's coming, right? I mean, I saw something, Marcus, on Business Central, and I think I even saw something on finance and supply chain management. There are some licensing changes that they're putting into the products for regulation of those inside of the application. So, should be interesting. Yeah. Hey, I mean, that's what should be in the first place, right? If you've aligned to the right model, you should be okay with it.
Definitely. And that's what I had for today. It was a lot, and it was fast, and it was dense, but obviously if there are any questions, lingering issues, considerations, any follow-ups, reach out. Would love to spend some time and answer anything that you got.
Thanks, Adam.
Absolutely. Adam, you did a great job. It was a lot of good content. So I think at this point, we're going to call it a wrap. We've got our next confab occurring 2 weeks from today, if I remember correctly. And in that, Marcus is going to be presenting Business Central. Is that correct, Marcus?
I believe you are correct.
Okay. We'll make sure to post and update the page to reflect what the content is going to be. Like I've asked before as well, guys, if you've got any recommendations on any of the topics that you would like to have us dive deeper into, it can be industry specific, it could be customer specific, it could be, talking about the future of Dynamics, whatever it is, we're more than happy to tackle it. Just make sure in the channel box to go ahead and add that recommendation, and we'll make sure to somehow incorporate that into our schedule as well. So thank you again, everyone, for joining. We always have fun with you guys online on chat. We're looking forward to continuing to do this throughout the year. So talk to you later.
Thanks.
Bye.